Scottie Scheffler's pretty good, man. We maybe should have just picked him to win.
We messed up, man.
We did.
We messed up.
Welcome back to Center Cup. I am Will Neary, notably not Kyle Musarino, and I'm here with Nick Newmeyer. Kyle, unfortunately, had some other matters to attend to, so he was unable to join us today, but he will be back on Wednesday for the next episode, and we look forward to that. Today, on episode 4, we are going to get into some recent news, of which there is not a ton, but a little TGL, some farmers insurance news that just recently came out. We're going to recap the American Express, the Hero Dubai Desert Classic. We're going to touch on our follow-through guys, and we are going to get into the next on the tee, which will cover what's coming up in the next couple weeks for us. A little bit broad, but some detail as well, some exciting stuff we're looking forward to as we approach the next couple tournaments. But to jump into the recent news, like I said, there is not a ton. We do have TGL tonight, which is, for me, very exciting. My hometown team, my Boston Common Golf team.
Yeah, you got the Boston.
I do.
Got the Boston hoodie on right there.
I've got the hat at home, the Ball Frog hat. Should have worn it. That was a whiff, but maybe next time. They are taking on the Bay Golf Club. Boston Common Golf is 1-0. The Bay is 0-1. Obviously, Boston Common Golf will feature Rory McIlroy, Michael Thorbjornsen, and Keegan Bradley against Shane Lowry, Minwoo Lee, and Wyndham Clark. For the Bay, there's not a ton to preview here. I'm excited. I think Boston Common Golf is slightly favored. We'll get a little, in the one-on-one portion of TGL tonight, we'll get a little Rory v. Shane, which I think is always fun.
That'll be interesting, yeah.
It will be. I don't know how that matchup works. There's a par 5 that they got to play. That's a long one that feels like, definitely would heavily favor Rory.
Yeah, I would say.
But, you also get Michael Thorbjornsen versus Minwoo Lee is some good cinema that I'm excited for, and Keegan Bradley versus Wyndham Clark. I think the pairings work out pretty well for that. It'll make for good TV. Obviously, no Tiger this week because the Jupe Links team is not out there. We might, obviously, he's one of the founders of TGL, so maybe he'll pop in for a word, but he won't be quite as vocal this week. There was also, this is not necessarily news, but something we wanted to mention because, like I said, I myself am a Boston Common Golf fan, and our poor friend Nick over here, who is from Chicago, does not have a team to root for.
That's what I'm saying. Obviously, I'll watch TGL, right? I'll watch it on TV, but I don't connect to it. I can look at the golfers that I like and say, I like Rory, maybe I'll watch Boston, but it's I don't have that city connection that other people might have. We need a Chicago team. I don't know who would play for it, but we need a Chicago team in TGL. That would make it just so much better.
It's surprising to me that there isn't one. I know, it's a cold weather city, and there's not necessarily, I can't off the top of my head think of significant golfers from Chicago. Maybe I'm missing somebody obvious, but I think when you have a team for Atlanta and you have a team for New York and you have Jupiter Links and all these teams, obviously Jupiter is a very, very popular golf location, especially for guys on tour to live. But you'd think Chicago would have a team, and it would be interesting. I mean, in terms of connecting with it, I think it's funny the guys who are on the teams. I always find that a little funny. For me, Michael Thorbjornsen, Keegan Bradley, they're Boston guys. Michael Thorbjornsen is from outside Boston. Keegan's from Vermont and is notably a huge, huge Boston sports fan, always representing. And Rory, I guess, he's Irish, so that kind of fits the Boston theme,
by
right?
default, I guess. Yeah.
Look at me. I represent the team pretty well in that facet. But it's you also have Hideki Matsuyama is on the team. And,
right, I was gonna say.
Yeah, Justin Rose was playing last week. It's very variable, but I would be excited to see Chicago. I know Nick would be too. I think we're getting the Motor City Golf Club out of Detroit.
Who's gonna play for them?
Who knows?
Do they? That's not common knowledge yet, right? They haven't released the.
As from what I've seen, I didn't see names. I mean, I would imagine we could probably speculate. We could tug at maybe a Luke Clanton finds his way onto the Motor City Golf team. If he performs pretty well over the next couple of years, but I think that's 2027. I saw that they're going to be debuting that expansion team. So who really knows what kind of players they'll tap into when they get down that road? I
mean, I'd like to see Tony Finau.
That'd be fun.
He signed a 1-day contract and played for LA one night in February 2025, but he's not on a full-time team yet. He's won the Rocket.
Mm-hmm.
The Rocket Classic. He's won there in Detroit. He's had a lot of success in that city. I could see him being the leader of that Detroit team. If we're gonna speculate names, I could see that happening.
That would be fun, and I'd be curious to see if they shift around these teams a little bit. Obviously, I don't think trades are in the near future, but you look at it like, for example, Michael Thorbjornsen is randomly he's the designated alternate for the Boston Common Golf team. Technically, not on the team. They have Adam Scott and Hideki Matsuyama make out their roster. So who knows? Maybe you see a shift. It would be hard for me to believe that Thorbjornsen would go somewhere else other than Boston Common Golf. But you never know. Maybe you see Adam Scott shift over to a Detroit team, something like that. But it should be a fun night tonight. I mean, obviously last week we got that Justin Rose albatross. It's going to be a hard uphill battle to reach that level, but we should get some excitement. We'll get par fives, maybe an eagle or two. Maybe we'll scare a hole in one again. I think it was Homa scared a hole in one last week. There'll be some. There's always a little bit of drama, so it'll be fun. And to get into perhaps a little bit more poignant news, not that TGL is not poignant. It's obviously very near and dear to my heart. But it was reported today that the rounds 1 and 2 of the Farmers Insurance Open, which is obviously coming up this week, will air on ESPN. Obviously, this is the Brooks Koepka return. So
I wonder why that's
yeah,
happening.
Who knows, right? No, they just really, really care about the Farmers Insurance Open and want to broadcast it. No, this is so that we can get 3 hours of uninterrupted coverage of Brooks Koepka. I believe it's 12 to 3. I saw that ESPN is airing it. I don't know how exactly that matches up with Brooks Koepka's tee times. Obviously, that's not knowledge yet. But I did see, I believe his Ludwig is in his partnership. It's Ludwig and Max Homa.
Yeah, that's
if I
right.
remember right.
Featured group.
Yeah, of course it is. But that'll be fun. I mean, and hopefully Ludwig's feeling up for it after he went home from the Amex, which we will get to. Another illness early in the year for Ludwig, but again, not to harp on that too much yet.
Yeah, he's my follow-through guy. Back off.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I'm trotting on your turf. But this is the first time in nearly 20 years that ESPN has offered live coverage of a non-major PGA Tour event, which is notable. Again, it's the Brooks effect. I mean, it's not. I wouldn't expect this to be a regularity for ESPN to be covering Thursdays and Fridays as we move forward, even though Brooks is likely or will stay for the rest of this season and onwards. But it's exciting. It's an easy way for us to watch Thursday, Friday golf. It's a reason for me to tune in.
Yeah, and like you mentioned, they're doing it for Brooks, but at the end of the day, like that's obviously they have coverage of golf, like they have the ESPN plus featured groups, like the main feed, like they're already pretty substantial in their coverage of golf. But this is kind of like taking it a step further. This is like on the mainstream channel.
Yeah.
Like we'll be seeing it in the 303 lobby, like on that little TV on the desk.
Exactly.
Like, this is such a big deal for the tour. This is going to give it a set of eyes that it doesn't usually get. And so I'm excited to see. I know you said it's probably not going to be a regularity. I hope it is.
I would love that. Look, I would love to have Thursday, to not have to log into my ESPN account to watch Thursday and Friday golf.
And then be told that I need to select a plan, even though I'm currently logged in with my plan. And
we could go down this road forever with streaming services, trust me. But no,
I tried helping my brother because he wanted to watch TGL last week, and I was trying to help him log onto it. And it was just... I'm like, you have to click it in this little corner and then do nothing and then let it play itself. Like, he was out of his mind.
Yeah. Well, this week will be nice. Easy viewing on Thursday, Friday. We'll get to a broader preview of the Farmers Insurance Open as we move forward in the week into our next episode. But today we are going to talk American Express. We've put it off for long enough. Scottie Scheffler's pretty good, man. We maybe should have just picked him to win.
We messed up, man.
We did.
We messed up.
I tried so hard to talk myself out of Scottie Scheffler, and I succeeded. And you know what? I would like to say, we'll get to this again a little bit later. Ludwig, he might have won. We will never know. He could have gone low. My sources are saying he was about to go low. Obviously, Scottie Scheffler wins by 3 at the American Express. He won by 3 at 27 under, which for the American Express is honestly not that crazy. Thought it would be crazier. Shot a final round 66. It did include a double bogey on Alcatraz on that par 3 17th.
I mean, he just has a tendency for giving back strokes when it's absolutely out of reach already. Like, remember when he 4-putt to win his first Masters?
Yeah.
Like,
it's just for fun, man. It doesn't matter. He just wants the illusion of closeness. He wants these guys to think that they might have a chance to.
He's just in his own world.
Yeah,
it's amazing.
It was awesome to watch. I mean, obviously, it was a little bit of a bummer on Sunday that neither Siwoo nor Blades were able to put up much of a fight at all. I mean, I think the average score among players who played on Sunday, so players who made the cut, was 1 under. 13 players shot 3 under or better, and obviously Siwoo and Blades were Siwoo held the lead going into the final round, and Blades was tied with Scottie, one back, and neither was able to really do anything. They pretty quickly fell out of the picture. Siwoo made a couple birdies early, actually held a 2-stroke lead at one point, but then made a bunch of bogeys down the stretch and just couldn't really step up. And obviously Scottie, he won that thing by the end of the front nine. I think we all knew where that was going. There was no shot that anybody was really reaching him, as we saw with a double on the 17th hole that didn't matter.
I mean, I knew he was winning when he birdied the first hole of the tournament.
Yeah, that was tough. When I'm looking at the scoreboard and he's like 3 under through 5 or whatever, so I'm like, okay, this was stupid.
But can we talk Blades Brown?
We should, man. It was awesome. It was so cool. That, again, this story has been, retold and retold and retold over the past couple weeks, so we won't go crazy with his Corn Ferry into PGA thing, but we will talk to PGA. But he obviously played 4 straight rounds down in Bermuda, or was it the Bahamas?
Yeah.
The Bahamas, sorry. Down in the Bahamas before getting on a private jet that I believe the private jet was something he had won, he had a certain number of hours that he had won on a private jet through a sponsor.
Oh,
and then
amazing.
Was able to get on that private jet to go straight to California, where he then played the American Express and shot a 60 on Friday. That was a bad 60. Like, watching it was like, this should have been a 57 comfortably. But I mean, to his credit, it was awesome to watch.
And I think we're not even giving him enough credit because he left the tournament Wednesday evening, flies to California, checks into his hotel, or actually, I don't know where he stayed. I don't know if it was a house, hotel, whatever. Checks into wherever his lodging was, immediately goes to sleep, gets 8 hours of sleep, wakes up the next morning, and just goes out and plays. No practice round. No, he had absolutely zero preparation aside from vibes. And
there's something to be said for vibes, though. Sometimes it's just like, man, I'd rather not be overthinking this. I'd rather have expectations low. I'd rather walk out here. This is me as a non-PGA Tour professional, for the record. But
of course, yeah.
I sometimes golf is always better when I'm not thinking. And I mean, man, it was like you said, it was awesome just coming out there. He, no practice round. He did play here last year, obviously. I think it was his first PGA Tour start.
Yeah, it was.
On a sponsor's exemption again last year. But, man, he looked every bit of deserving out there. He, again, 60 on Friday with a flubbed chip on the reachable par 5 on the back 9 and a missed short birdie putt. I think it was, 6 feet, something like that?
Maybe a little longer.
Yeah.
Wait a minute. It would give me the frights. Let's just say that.
My knees would be shaking for sure. But he did miss a short birdie putt on the 18th to shoot that elusive 59. And this is from Justin Ray on X. His position at T2 through 3 rounds was the best for somebody his age in the last 40 years. There was obviously Justin Rose, who was 5th in 1998, which is Justin Rose has been around forever.
I mean, yeah.
That's unreal. But Justin Rose 5th in 1998 at the Open, and Jason Day was T5 in the 2006 Barracuda. Again, that's through 3 rounds going into the final round. But he was pretty spectacular. I mean, again, he faded on Sunday. I don't blame him. It was his 8th consecutive day of golf. I think we might have learned that 7 is the max, apparently, of PGA Tour sanctioned competitive golf. But
I think he just ran out of gas at the end of the day. Like, you even saw in 18, he had that putt. I think he had like 20 feet to make birdie to finish in the top 10 to qualify for the Farmers. And he did exactly what I would have done, ran it 10 feet past the hole. Like, he gave it a good ride, but at the end of the day, he couldn't, and he ended up 3-putting and put himself further down the leaderboard. But I think he just ran out of gas. And
100%.
Like you said, 7 days of all go. Like,
I will say, I mean, as impressed as I was by his play, which obviously I was incredibly impressed by his play, I think it struck me watching the interview he had after the fact, after his 59, when he obviously, it's an emotional thing having an opportunity to shoot 59 on the PGA Tour, putting yourself in contention in a tournament. But after the fact, when he was interviewed, he was just like nothing but happy and gracious about the opportunity, and pretty much was just saying how awesome it was to have given himself that opportunity, not how mad he was that he missed it, which I thought was a really cool sign of maturity. I think that's something you see a lot with young guys these days, is that they're not only like physically ready for the PGA Tour, they're pretty mentally prepared. They're pretty mentally resilient in situations like this. and they're ready. Like, they're not phased by the moment much at all. I mean, you could say, again, like we've been talking about, he faded on Sunday, but I don't think that's a mental thing. I think he's ready for this. He's going to be winning out here before long.
I certainly wouldn't have blamed him for being pissed after the round. Like, to have the opportunity to win, and actually, quite honestly, be favored to win. I liked his chances heading into that Sunday.
There might have been a wager. If you looked at my lost bets right now, you might see a little wager on Blades Brown going into Sunday. But again, unfortunately, Siwoo and Blades did end up fading through. So it was around hole 4 is when I believe Siwoo was favored in that final round. And then between holes 4 and 9 in the 4th round, Scottie Scheffler went 4 under, Siwoo went 4 over, and Blades Brown went 2 over. So Scottie gained 6 shots on Blades in that stretch, in that 5-hole stretch, and 8 shots on Siwoo, and that was the tournament.
Yeah, that's basically where it was decided after that.
100%. And both Siwoo, Kim, and Blades Brown double bogeyed par 5s in that stretch, which when you're playing Scottie Scheffler, you can't double a bogey at the Amex.
Right. Even at the Amex in general, a par is a bogey on a par 5.
Yeah. I will say some other things that jumped out to me about the tournament. I thought the weather picked up a little bit on Saturday. But of course, Scottie Scheffler persevered, and I wanna do a couple fun Scottie facts. This is the first round of Scottie Scheffler this year. You got to give me one Scottie fact.
Let's have some fun.
Okay, so we're gonna. Obviously, these have been on social media. I'm probably saying things you've heard, but they are just as incredible the second time you hear them. So this is from Jason Sobel on X, and the OWGR average point differential between Scottie Scheffler, who is obviously world number 1, and Rory McIlroy, who is at number 2, is the same as it is between Rory McIlroy and, I'm going to attempt this pronunciation, Kyungnam Kang, who is ranked 677th. So that 677th. It's like when I first started reading that, the first time I saw it, I was, you can kind of figure out where it's going. I was like, it's probably going to be between him and, I don't know, the 67th best guy on tour, your beloved Jordan Spieth, maybe even around 75. But
low blow.
677th is outrageous. I mean, that just shows you how head and shoulders above the field Scottie Scheffler is.
I mean, I knew it was a lot, but that's practically double between 1 and 2. He's just in a league of his own, and then in another league after that.
100%, and it looked that way this weekend. I mean, obviously Rory McIlroy wasn't out there. The number 2 in the world wasn't out there. Neither was Tommy Fleetwood. They were in Dubai, but it was pretty remarkable. I mean, he just looked head and shoulders above everybody. It wasn't even a competition. And he's doing pretty well for himself, I must say. He is 3rd in career money leaders in history on the PGA Tour, behind Tiger Woods and Rory McIlroy. And he's only 29, which is, I believe it's in June. He turns 30. Obviously, purses have inflated, et cetera, but $100 million in his career behind only 2 people. That is ridiculous.
Will he finish the year as the all-time money leader?
I would have to look at how far ahead of him are. Rory's not far ahead. I know that. I think Tiger might be pretty far in front still.
Because I want to say maybe it's like 120. I feel like is the number.
If that's the number, then absolutely. I mean, I would expect him to make. I mean, he's made $100 million, and that's really only in the last 4 years.
Yeah. Okay. PGA Tour career money leaders: Tiger Woods 120, 999,000. Rory McIlroy 107. Scottie 100.
Okay, then I'll say yes. I mean, it's 4 years pretty much to rack up 101 million. Obviously, there's some contribution from before 4 years ago, but really when he started stepping on the gas was 4 years ago. Pretty comfortably averaging 20 million over the last couple of years. I mean, I would expect, unless his performance declines significantly, that he is likely at least to pass Tiger Woods this year, which is ridiculous.
Right. I think we can expect Rory to have the season that we would from him. Even if our expectations are notably a little bit low, I feel like he's still going to have enough of a season where I think he can survive with a $7 million head start and still maybe Rory will finish the season as the all-time money leader. We'll see.
That would be, man, I would love that. That would be such a great plot twist if all of a sudden, although I guess that wouldn't be that crazy. You're right. Now that you mention it.
There is, I don't know where it is, but there is a figure that adjusts for like inflation. Actually, I don't know if this might be a baseball thing. I might be thinking of the wrong thing, but like adjusting the
math could be done.
Yeah, it definitely could be. I think adding the current day purses to the events that are won, I think we'd probably see Tiger so much higher. But I think that's the great thing is like Tiger walked so these guys could run.
100%.
And if Tiger doesn't play those events, like you don't see the WGCs, you don't see the FedEx Cup, you don't see all of this money that's in this sport is because of one man.
100%. I mean, he revolutionized this thing between '97 and 2008. Like the explosion that was professional golf because pretty much solely of Tiger Woods is. I mean, obviously I talked a lot about Vijay Singh last week. There were other guys who played massive roles, and who were incredibly successful. But it's because of Tiger Woods, and I don't think anybody would dispute that fact that he has revolutionized the game, the tour, the money. It's been, and you are, like you said, seeing it. So he walked so these guys could run. They are making it hand over fist because Tiger Woods did what he did. And again, this win at Amex, it was Scottie's 16th consecutive top 10 finish. We just talked about Vijay Singh. Scottie extended his lead over Vijay Singh, who has 12 consecutive top 10 finishes, and over Tiger Woods, who had 11, and also over himself, who previously had 11. So, again, 16. He didn't just break this record, but this is his 16th consecutive top 10 finish, most on tour since 1983, extending it over Vijay Singh, 12, and Tiger Woods, 11. And he is the third fastest, which this one is maybe the most, lasting to me. I think one of the ones that will stick with me the most is that Scottie Scheffler is the third fastest all time on the PGA Tour to reach 20 wins since 1960 he did so in 127 starts. Tiger Woods did so in 95 starts, and Jack Nicklaus was just in front of Scottie Scheffler, and Arnold Palmer is behind Scottie Scheffler. And Justin Ray mentioned this as well, that only Scottie Scheffler, Tiger Woods, and Jack Nicklaus have won at least 20 events, including 4 or more majors, before they turned 30. Pretty good company.
This guy's pretty good, right?
Those are only the only 2 people that have ever been discussed as the greatest of all time, probably, in Scottie Scheffler.
Yeah, I mean, it's not going to be too long. Like, I think they talked about this extensively on the broadcast yesterday, is that we've had the peaks. We've had the Jordan Spieths. We've had the Dustin Johnsons. We've had those like little 2-year peaks, and he's not stopping. It's been like 4 years of Scottie Scheffler dominance, and there's no I think I saw this morning when I checked Data Golf for the rankings of the Farmers and like the probability. It had Scottie Scheffler on the list, even though he wasn't in the field, and I think he was plus 300 to win, and the next guy was like 2,000 plus 2,000.
By the way, I would have taken that in a heartbeat.
But not even in the field, and I would still have taken him.
100%. Yeah, man, it is. I think I saw some stuff coming out on X, people discussing basically from a talent perspective where Scottie stacks up against Tiger, and people saying that at some point we're going to have to start thinking about the fact that Scottie, just because he doesn't have the beautiful swing that Tiger had, or the new power that Tiger brought to the game, there was a lot of people discussing the fact that we should look into the fact that Scottie is like just as talented as Tiger Woods was. And I know that's not necessarily true. I think it was Michael Kim came out on X talking about how Tiger Woods had exemplary seasons like 2006, I believe, and 97, obviously, when he won the Masters by $1 billion.
Tiger Slam.
The Tiger Slam. He had levels that Scottie hasn't reached, but in terms of average performance versus where Scottie is right now, I mean, it's a conversation worth having. I'm not sure I'm willing to take a stance on it yet at one side or the other, especially as somebody who didn't grow up. I wasn't born in 97, and I was probably not conscious for the Tiger Slam, but it is something that is a conversation that I think I'll be curious to follow.
Well, I'll raise you that Tiger Woods didn't have those levels until Tiger Woods did them. And so,
yeah,
obviously Scottie hasn't reached that yet, but that's not to say that he won't.
No, I think he continues to prove to me that there are obviously he's not going away. I think we can accept that now, but he continues to prove that he will continue to improve. And I think they were talking to him early in the Amex, maybe before the first round in a press conference or in a press conference following one of his rounds. He mentioned that, this offseason in the past, he's had parts of his game that he's had to work on. And this offseason, he was like, it's kind of about maintenance. Like, I'm pretty comfortable with the way my game's playing, and like I'll continue to look for those parts of my game to improve, but like there's nothing glaring anymore, which is, it's for him to know that and for him to still be working the way he works is like, man,
watch out.
I know. It is scary. And let's get into some other notable finishes. There's just a couple names. I'm not going to go on too long here. I think Jason Day I was really happy to see him play. He is somebody I think I might have talked about in either our first or second episode when we were discussing the follow-through about somebody I am excited to look at this year, and I debated taking him instead of, I think it was Daniel Berger. I forget which rank Day fell into. But I'm excited to watch him, and he's been proving that he's worth watching. I think he shot a 64 on Sunday, finished T2 at 23 under, and shot a 63 on Thursday as well. On the stadium course, he was 63-64. That's Thursday, Sunday. The 71 at La Quinta on Friday is what kept him from potentially winning this tournament. 71 on Friday at La Quinta, that was the second worst score on that course on that day.
And that's just incredible in its own right.
I know. I think it was, by the way, 1 under par is the second worst score on La Quinta on a Friday. I think it was Charlie Hoffman that shot a 74. So, and I think actually, to be fair, Nick Dunlap also shot a 74, but he then subsequently withdrew. So I'm kind of excluding him from my data set.
Doesn't count.
Does not count. But
tactical retreat.
Exactly. But yeah, man, he looked great. I think it was just a clean rounds for him. And on Sunday, it was a little bit like Jason Day, before Scottie went on his run, it was like Jason Day might be around this thing. When it looked like, Scottie had that bogey, fell back to even par on the day. It didn't look like Siwoo and Blades were making any significant moves. It looked like there could be somebody from that, tertiary group that could jump up into the leaderboard, into the top of the leaderboard. And it looked like that might be Day. Unfortunately, a 64 on Sunday was not enough to get it done, but he looked fantastic.
Yeah, definitely. And I think we saw Will Zalatoris back on tour. Like, here's someone that he didn't know if he was going to play again. Mm-hmm. And to see him come back, finish at 19 under, he's gained strokes in all categories over the week, went 65, 70, 70, 64. That's impressive for someone just coming back.
It's really impressive. And he falls into a category that I want to get to a little bit, like towards the end of these players. But there's a reason. Again, he went 70-64 on the weekend, back-to-back stadium course rounds. There's an interesting little tidbit I want to get into there in a second. But Sahith Theegala, another one, 21 under, T8, 71 on the stadium course on Thursday, kind of the reason he wasn't really higher up there on the leaderboard. It's his first top 10 since late 2024.
Wow.
Which is, he didn't have a single top 10 last year, the entire season. And this week he was a little bit carried by his putting. It was... he gained over 2 strokes putting. Although I believe that I was looking at Data Golf, and I believe that only takes into account stadium course statistics because that's how they register where the event was.
Okay.
But the putting was a major problem for him towards the end of last year, so it's good regardless to see that that club is working for him a little bit. I think he's always been, we saw throughout his career, I feel like he's been a guy that when he steps up to the tee, you're not necessarily confident that he's finding the fairway, but he tends to be able to find his way onto the green. So if he can get that putter hot, he's somebody to expect in contention here and there.
For sure.
I was really happy to see him put up a top 10. He's so easy to root for. Obviously, there's all the stories with his dad always out there, the T-shirts that people put together, the T-shirts that his dad puts together.
I need to find him in Phoenix.
I know.
And just shake his hand.
I know.
I don't even need to talk to him on the record. I just need to find that man.
I know, especially considering what he went through at Phoenix a couple years ago. But yeah, we will again be down in Phoenix, which we'll get to a little bit. But it will be. I would love to see Sahith and his father down there. They're always a great story.
Looking, we also had some other good names. We had Ricky Fowler. T19 or T18, sorry, 63 in his second round.
Mm-hmm.
And here's where we saw a little bit of maybe the stadium course was kind of holding people back. We saw both rounds of Ricky's weekend were at the stadium course. He had a 71 in his third round, And especially on Saturday, we saw the wind kind of take a bit more of an effect. And that really kind of, I feel like everybody's lowest round, or highest round, if you will, was at the stadium course.
Yeah, the stadium course is the hardest of these three courses. And it seemed to me that when the weather picked up a little bit on Saturday, it wasn't anything major. It was some wind came through. But it did seem like some of these guys in contention that even Scottie Scheffler, who won some of the names, for example, of guys who played both rounds in the weekend at the stadium course. Scottie Scheffler, Will Zalatoris, who we talked about, Ricky Fowler, S.H. Kim, who was really high up on the leaderboard until Saturday, was one of them. Blades Brown was another. Sam Stevens, Matt McCarty. And a couple of them, especially Haotong, did play really, really well on Saturday at the stadium course. So this is not, necessarily a rule, but it was something that I felt like I noticed. Even Scottie, who was holding the lead, tied with Blades Brown through 2 rounds, went from there to being a stroke back to Siwoo Kim after round 3. And some of that I do think there was it was harder to rise up the leaderboard on Saturday for those playing the stadium course. It just felt like with that wind, it's a little less scoreable, whereas at La Quinta and at the Nicklaus tournament course, there is still opportunity for scoring, whether or not there's a little wind up. It seemed like the stadium course was a little more punishing and kind of made guys like Ricky, mitigated the opportunity that Will Zalatoris, Ricky Fowler, and some of those other guys had to really rise up the leaderboard, and for Scottie on Saturday, run away with it on Saturday rather than Sunday.
Yeah, and so I think there's a lot of what could have been heading into that weekend. You have like Siwoo, Blades Brown, like Jason Day. Like there's a lot of what could have been, but I think considering that the Sony was a bit of a snooze fest, like this was a great major
100%.
opener
Absolutely.
the tour.
I mean, even though we weren't sweating this one down the stretch at all,
Not
but
in the slightest.
to see Scottie out there, to get the headlines like the Blades Brown storyline chasing a 59 or better on Friday, to get those storylines out there, and then to get some of these names that are fan favorites, whether they're necessarily the best guys in the field, but are fan favorites, like I think Will Zalatoris, Jason Day, Sahith Theegala, Ricky Fowler, are all names that people, especially, Ricky has been around for a long, long time and has held fans' hearts for a very long time. And like we said, Sahith has always been a fan favorite. I think Will Zalatoris, when he came out, was somebody that everybody was really looking forward to watching play, especially at important events, and then to see him get injured and have his career kind of thrown into pretty serious question was a bummer, was tough, and I think has made him even more of a fan favorite. So it was, like you said, it was a really great opener, despite the fact that we didn't necessarily get that TV finish where you're like, God, anything could happen on 18.
Well, I think we talked about last week in regards to the Sony, you mentioned we saw some of the people struggle in the desert on the DP World Tour. We saw some people struggle at the Sony. We saw the top ranked players kind of struggle. And you kind of posed the point, are we going to see that rust early on in the year? And I think the way I responded was, golf is notorious for the best player isn't going to win every single time. Unless, of course, your name's Scottie Scheffler.
Yeah.
That was never... It was never in doubt. Like I said, as soon as the first putt fell on the first hole, there was never any doubt.
Yeah, I think when I start making proclamations about the PGA Tour, I'm going to separate him because he's on his own tour. I don't think he counts anymore. He's just going to win all the tournaments. I'm not even going to think about it. Anything I say, don't put Scottie Scheffler in there because he's otherworldly and better than everyone else on this tour.
God, I'm so happy that man's on my fantasy team.
I know. That was tough. We'll get to the scores, but Nick took a pretty massive jump forward this week.
I haven't even seen these scores yet. So.
It's spoiler alert, you're in first. Although I will say we are both leading. You know what? We'll do it quickly right now because you mentioned it. So Nick's fantasy team includes Scottie Scheffler. I believe you have Ben Griffin, and you have your favorite Jordan Spieth, who is one of your follow-through guys. This week you got, obviously, the win from Scottie Scheffler, which is worth 110 points in our wonderful fantasy league, and a T24 from Ben Griffin, which looked like you were going to get more out of him early in the week, but he still got you the cut made, a couple points there, bringing you up to 150 on the year. Obviously, Jordan Spieth did not play this week, but bringing you up to 150 on the year so far. My team, which features Matt Fitzpatrick, Russell Henley, and Daniel Berger, my follow-through guy, It was pretty good this week. I got a T64 from. I got cuts made from all my guys, which is beautiful. I'm always happy that I get 3 contributors. I got a T64 from Fitzpatrick, a T8 from Russell Henley, which really carried the team, and a T56 from Daniel Berger. Russell Henley, by the way, is really good at golf. He also just kind of keeps doing it, especially on a course like Amex that rewards distance and rewards, distance and being able to go from driver to wedge pretty consistently. He just goes out there, hits his, he still hits it way farther than I ever could, but hits his 290-yard drive out there and gets around and does some pretty remarkable stuff and just continues to impress.
Yeah, Ben Griffin too. Like Ben Griffin was someone that he was my pick to win this week. I feel like he looked good. He had a 63 at the start and then 69-70 to close out the week. Like just not really. He didn't take that step when the leaders were establishing themselves. He didn't take that step. So unfortunately, we didn't see him do well this week. I could have got more points, but I take what I can get, I guess.
Absolutely. I mean, when's the last time that Ben Griffin and Russell Henley played bad golf? It's pretty cool. But then maybe it's a good thing Kyle's not here because his fantasy team got him 10 points on a cut made from Sam Burns. Obviously, Fleetwood playing overseas and Neil Shipley with another missed cut, which we will touch on very briefly in our follow-through. I don't want to take up too much of Kyle's airtime.
Did we do DP World starts count for fantasy? Did we determine that?
We should maybe evaluate that. Either way, Tommy didn't do anything especially fantastic today. I'd be willing to say yes.
I feel like that's fair.
I'd be willing to give him, okay, so then update people. Another 10 points for Kyle Mucciarino from the cut made by Tommy. I think he was T41, if I'm right. 1 under T40. Yeah, 1 under T41 out in Dubai. Which, why don't we jump into the Hero Dubai Desert Classic? We don't have to go too deep in, but why don't you, do you have any massive pointers you want? Did somebody win this week?
Everybody's least favorite golfer, the villain. Hey. The villain is back. Patrick Reed wins the Dubai Desert Classic. I mean, he's someone that I feel like I said when he was winning, you love him or hate him, you still watched.
100%.
Like, he was one of, I mean, it's not hyperbole for me to say he was everybody's least favorite guy. Like, he was one of the most hated people on tour when he was here. And it was great. Like, he was the villain. Like, he was someone that you rooted against, and he gave you that storyline heading into the week. And it was just someone that you haven't really replicated that on tour ever since he left.
No, and he was the boogeyman.
Yeah, exactly. And so I think seeing him in contention again, I feel like it was really, really good to see. It gives a point to, obviously, he was one of the LIV players not included in the returning member program. And that played a really key role because he said entering the week that he was open to playing anywhere, not just on LIV. He was open to playing DP World Tour. He was open to playing Asian Tour. He was open to playing the PGA Tour.
Yeah, he had some pretty interesting comments. So this is following around at the Hero Dubai Desert Classic. He was in a press conference, and these are some of the comments that he had regarding his contract, where he's scheduled to play, or where he expects to play. So this is the first of 2 clips.
Yeah, well, but we're still finalizing the contract. We're not complete on that yet. So.
For this year or for future years?
For this year.
Right. So you're a free agent?
At the moment, yes, sir.
So that's a really big deal.
Yeah. There's a little hesitance in there. It's wishy-washy, I guess is how I'd put it.
And so I think the 2 things for me is, one, they're starting their season next week. Mm-hmm. Like, to not have the contract ready by then, I feel like that's a really big thing. And 2, I think it presents Patrick Reed a really interesting situation, because I think what he said heading into the week was that his goal was to keep playing the DP World Tour and try to qualify to finish in like the top 10 to try and qualify for a PGA Tour card to kind of regain his status back. And obviously that costs money, because by competing in LIV, he still has to pay sanctions to play on the DP World Tour. And so he said by playing well on the DP World Tour, he's going to allow him to keep playing on the tour. And so by winning this event, that kind of pays for his year, I guess.
Yeah.
So it's good to see him win. But this puts him in a very interesting position, because Brooks Koepka had to breach his contract. Mm-hmm. He had to kind of void his contract in order to come back. Like, the reason we're seeing this kind of hesitancy from Bryson DeChambeau was that I think his exact words were, "I'm contracted through 2026." So like, these are guys that are under contract and thus can't make the move back to the PGA Tour. But this is interesting.
It is. And so, like we've talked about, I think when the Brooks news initially broke, the rule that was governing the PGA Tour's return, what previously could have been considered the returning player program before they revamped it and named it, was that essentially if you competed in a non-sanctioned event, you were unable to compete on the PGA Tour for a year. And so that was kind of the governing rule. But obviously with the new CEO, we've learned that he's kind of doesn't really care about what happened before he became the CEO of Brian Rolapp became the CEO of the PGA Tour. So he's willing to kind of rethink these rules, right, a little bit. So like you said, I think it's a little bit different because, again, he's not under contract. So he's not violating a contract. He doesn't have to breach his contract. But it is really cool just to see, like you said, love him or hate him, a big name, a name that draws attention, say that this is an opportunity that he's interested to explore.
And this isn't nobody. This is
No.
like people forget.
Masters
He's a
champ.
major champion. Like
Yeah.
you may not have like you need someone that like he's been in contentions at the majors the last few years. He's been kind of around that race. He doesn't really get the hype that any of the big guys on LIV do, but he's still someone that's very, very much in the conversation. But unfortunately, you're going to have to wait a little bit longer to see him back on the PGA Tour. Here's what he had to say when he was asked if he would be playing on the PGA Tour in the near future.
I mean, not that I know of. I mean, not right now. I mean, really, just all kind of depends on everything. I mean, I haven't talked to the team back home or anything like that, but at the moment, I plan on teeing it up there in Riyadh, and I mean, I'd be surprised if we're not.
Yeah, I doesn't inspire optimism for his direct return to the PGA Tour. But again, to finish with, I'd be surprised if we're not implies that he's not necessarily sure.
I think the one thing we've learned over the last 3 weeks or so is that you cannot take a LIV player for their word right now.
No.
Like everything is going on behind the scenes. You can't take the PGA Tour for their word right now. You can't take anybody for what they say. And so I think just the fact that he hasn't publicly confirmed that he's playing in Riyadh means that if I'm Brian Rolapp, I'm reaching out.
Yeah, absolutely. You got to establish a back and forth at least, understand what he needs, what he'd want to come back to the PGA Tour, if there's even a feasible agreement to be made there. But like you said, I mean, this is a guy, and I might get the exact facts wrong here, but last year at the Masters, when Rory, he had an eagle putt, I think it was on 13, maybe it was 15, it was 13. He had an eagle putt on 13 from 4 feet or something like that, and it would have put him directly in contention had he made it. I think, if I remember correctly, he barely missed it and tapped in for birdie and never quite got up to the top of the leaderboard the way Justin Rose did, but he was there. He was a name. He was around, and he will continue to be around, I think, in these majors, whether or not he's on LIV or on the PGA Tour.
Yeah, I would like to see him back. I feel like, and it would certainly be a lot easier to bring him back because it would be not only easier for the tour, but it'd be easier for Patrick Reed himself. He wouldn't have to buy himself out of his contract, if you will. We still don't know what Brooks Koepka had to do to get out of his contract, and we probably never will.
Mm-hmm.
But I would imagine that it's probably easier for Patrick Reed to come back to the tour than say it was for Brooks.
It has to be. But to get back to the Hero Dubai Desert Classic, anyways, he did win in pretty commanding fashion. He took a good lead on Saturday afternoon. David Puig had gotten to 9 under through 10 in round 3, just as Reed had bogeyed his 6th to fall back to 9 under, so they were tied at the top there. But then in their respective 9 holes, kind of similar to what we saw on Sunday on the PGA Tour, in their respective next 5 holes, Reed rebounded with 3 birdies while Puig went 1 over with a bogey. So from there, Patrick Reed, coasted a little bit, played the rest of the tournament in 2 under, including an even par 72 on Sunday, while Puig shot a 75 and wasn't even really, next couple on the leaderboard there. But an impressive bogey-free 66 from Reed on Friday, which was the second lowest on the course that day. He was the only player to shoot 3 rounds in the 60s in Dubai. And he didn't get a ton of competition from some of the huge names, but there were some names up there. I mean, we touched on Tommy Fleetwood, T41 at 1 under. Rory McIlroy and Tyrrell Hatton both did slightly better at 2 under, tied for 33rd. And then a couple other names were up there. Francesco Molinari was T4. Nikolai Højgaard was T4 as well. Like I said, Puig finished T7, and Thorbjorn Olesen finished T10. So there were some names. Nobody really challenged him down the stretch. But
I will say, Francesco Molinari is someone that I have my eye on.
just
heading
doing
into this
stuff,
year.
man.
Like, he had a really brutal stretch at the end of last year, just consecutive missed cuts, but then really kind of turned it around. And so he had once December hit, he had a T10 in South Africa at the Nedbank Golf Challenge, T47 at the Dubai Invitational, and then obviously the T4 here. I'm interested to see what he could do. I feel like he was one of those, like, obviously he's the first Italian to ever win a major. He was he toe-to-toe with Tiger Woods in 2019, and he was ready to kind of take that next step, and then obviously hole 12 happened, and we just never really saw what he could have done. But I feel like it's possible to see him kind of just get his name back up there again, and I'd like to see it.
Definitely. And I think this is probably unfair to him, but I tend to think of him as older than he is. He's only 43, which is not young by any means, but I think something about his going toe-to-toe with Tiger in 2019 sort of melded their age in my head somehow, and I always think of him as somebody that could be contesting on the Champions Tour. But you're totally right. I mean, he's got the game to be up there to find his way towards the top of leaderboards on the PGA Tour, wherever he's playing, on the DP World Tour, obviously. I'm impressed to see him at T4 there. I think he was 6 shots back from Reed, who again won by 4. So it was a good tournament for him. It's good to see his name up there among some obviously contrasting young guys like Nikolai Højgaard. But like you said, he'll be an interesting one to follow over the next couple years as things progress and as the game moves forward. And as I mentioned, we do have our follow-through guys. There's not a ton this week. Again, as we're getting into the early season, there's not a ton, and we're missing Kyle, which is unfortunate. We'll touch on his guys a little bit, but I don't want to steal too much of his thunder. But I'll jump into my guys quickly. Again, Cam Young did not play this week. Unfortunate. Wish I would have seen him out there. It seems like he would have been a fantastic fit for the Amex. I mean, just bombs it, and at least recently has had good wedge play and solid putting, at least towards the end of last year. Obviously, at the Ryder Cup, he was pretty fantastic. But he is in the field for the Farmers this week. He did not play it last year, but he did finish well last year at the Genesis, which, of course, was at Torrey Pines due to the fires that were in California. But yeah, he finished well, had a T16 out there at Torrey Pines. So I'm curious to see. We'll get into a more thorough preview of what I might expect from him this week when we talk on Wednesday. But I'm excited to see him out there. I'm excited to see him play outside of a TGL setting. It'll be cool to watch the ball go farther than 50 yards before it hits a screen. But Daniel Berger, my other guy, my beautiful sleeper, T56, second consecutive made cut, shot 14 under at the Amex. It wasn't his best week. He kind of stalled on the weekend with 2 rounds of 70 on the stadium course back to back. But again, to see him put his name up there, I think he was 10 under after 2 rounds, which was not necessarily contention, but it was somebody that as you scrolled through the first couple pages of the leaderboard, you saw his name pop up. It was good to see. I was happy to see it. I think he's gonna do some. I'm not gonna guarantee a win. That would be foolish. But I will say that I think I expect to see him near or on the top of a couple leaderboards this year.
For sure. Yeah. So now my turn. Ludwig Aubert, he was someone that was in contention. He was in a good spot heading into the weekend at the Amex. He was at 9 under par. Once again, not page turning.
But he'd shown signs. I will get to my picks, but he was my guy. So I was following him pretty closely, and he made a double on the Alcatraz hole. He was a couple big mistakes away from being right up there.
And so then after his second round, he withdrew with citing an illness. And so one thing I want to point out is it was right around this time last year that he withdrew, or actually he didn't withdraw. He played, he finished the Farmers, and he withdrew from his next start, and then dealt with an illness. Mm-hmm. He claimed he lost 10 pounds.
That is
really
what he says.
Was not doing well. Like, I've been there, not fun. Then he came back for the Genesis at Torrey, and he ended up winning.
Yeah, and I think, sorry, go ahead.
And so maybe we can see, maybe this is just another one of those like early season illnesses. Maybe we see him come back and play some good golf in the next few weeks, but I don't know. Not certainly not the weekend I was hoping for Ludwig.
Me neither. But I think, like you said, if he can get over this illness, obviously Torrey's a place he loves to play. I think last year for the Farmers, it was 63 on Thursday, and it was, oh my God, is he going to run away with this thing? And then was 70s on Friday, Saturday, and 79 on Sunday. So a 16-shot difference, and it was pretty clear that he was ailing already at that point before he even, I think he withdrew from the Amex shortly after. But yeah, hopefully this isn't a lasting thing. I'd love to see him at Torrey. I might have to go back to back with my picks, but we'll save that for Wednesday.
For sure. Yeah, let's get him in the field first. And then for my next one, I'm going to give a little bit of a backstory. It'll all make sense. So after years of questioning money, compensation, the players on the PGA split from the PGA, or the PGA of America in 1968, and that's when sort of the modern day equivalent of the PGA Tour started. That's when we saw like the modern day form, kind of splitting from the PGA of America and turning into the PGA Tour. So that's when I classify as the modern day PGA Tour.
I think that's fair.
Blades Brown, unfortunately, didn't get it done this week. We were rooting for him, ultimately ran out of gas. But that means that the youngest player to win a PGA tournament in the modern age still belongs to Jordan Spieth.
Were you rooting for Blades Brown to get it done, knowing in the back of your mind that this record would be gone?
I'm not heartless, Will. Like, I was still rooting for the kid, okay? Like, and obviously I would have wanted to see him get it done.
No,
but
nobody can take this away from Jordan Spieth.
Exactly. The man's still on top. I still consider him like the lowest score at Augusta. We're not giving it to DJ. Like, Spieth stays on top. But anyway, no action for Jordan this week. He was out. There was talks of him teeing it up at Torrey because of the winter storms in Texas. It's something he did last year, where he played an event saying that it was actually quite cold in where he was, and that was the incentive to just kind of get away from there and practice. Doubt we're going to see him at Torrey this week. I don't want to see him at Torrey this week. He does not have a good relationship with that course. And it's never fun when Jordan Spieth plays at Torrey. So I think we'll see him off this week, and then we'll be right up at it at the Waste Management.
Definitely. And like I said, I won't steal much of Kyle's thunder. Tommy Fleetwood is his first of his two follow-through characters. Like we mentioned, an uneventful week in Dubai at the Hero Dubai Desert Classic. T41, 73, 72, 73, and a fairly meaningless 69 to close out the week. And then Neil Shipley, who is his sleeper, is unfortunately not performing to the level that I think Kyle and all of us were hoping for to a certain degree. He was cut at the Amex, shooting 5 under through the 3 rounds. Again, the Amex cut is on Saturdays, and continues to have a fairly shaky start to the year. We all hope he can turn it around. Obviously, he had some pretty impressive play last year, so I have to assume that this is, shaking off a little rust, getting your feet back under you. I hope so, at least. But I am excited to see what he can do moving forward into the next couple tournaments.
So, next on the tee?
Next on the tee. So, like we mentioned, our podcast coming up this Wednesday on the 28th of January, we will be releasing episode 5, which will consist of a Farmers Insurance Open preview. Obviously, we kind of dabbled a little bit into that today, but we will go in depth on Wednesday, and that will feature the return of Brooks Koepka, as has been probably exhaustively talked about, but we're gonna rehash that puppy because it's an important thing to talk about. And then also we have the LPGA returning for their season with the Hilton Grand Vacations Tournament of Champions taking place in Orlando, Florida, starting this Thursday, the 29th.
Yeah, it'd be good to see them get back in action. I definitely think this is going to be a leapfrog year for the LPGA. They got the new rights deal, possibly venturing into TGL.
WTGL coming soon.
Very interested to see how that works out. And so then we'll have that on Wednesday, and then we're still working out how we're going to do our Monday episode right before we leave for the WM Phoenix Open. So we're still hashing out the details on that one, but that will get you a Farmers Insurance recap, a little touchback on the follow-through in fantasy, and then we'll talk about what our week's going to look like at the WM and how
pretty exciting.
It's really exciting. Like, I think just like we had our meeting today where we pitched ideas, and just thinking at like what access we're going to have, like the kind of what's going to be at our disposal. Like I think it's going to be really just fun to be there and just boots on the ground.
It will be great, and we will definitely have some written work that you should look out for, and we will be sure to reference on the podcast as we get following the Waste Management Phoenix Open in the next couple weeks. But there should be some really exciting stuff. Like Nick said, we are going to nail down the schedule. It's all of our schedules are still a little up in the air for what we're doing while we're down there, but we are trying to nail down the best way for us to approach that and get the pod to all of you as fast as possible. Other things to touch on, we already mentioned our fantasy golf standings. Nick is in a commanding lead-ish at 150, whereas I am trailing at 110. And we have Kyle Musarino with a little bit of contribution from Tommy Fleetwood. I believe he's around 20. I'll have to look into Tommy's contribution from last week as well, as I think Tommy did a little bit better. I think he was up near the top 10. Mm-hmm. But we also had our picks for the Amex that we released on our socials. We release those every week, by the way, before the tournament on Twitter and Instagram. But our picks this week, Nick had Ben Griffin, as he touched on, who finished T24 at 18 under. Looked great to start the week. A respectable pick. Nothing wrong with that. I unfortunately did pick Ludwig, which, I'm going to asterisk. It could have been a win. We will never know. I think he wasn't going to win. Scotty, he wasn't going what would have had to be 18 under the next 2 days, unfortunately. But
we'll never know.
We'll never know. Exactly. And Kyle did pick Siwoo, who finished T6, looked fantastic for a while. I thought we were going to get our first correct pick of the year. Hopefully we get one of those soon. Otherwise, people aren't going to trust us. But I think it's a great pick. Siwoo T6, it was a good course fit. He won this event in 21. It made sense, and we will see. Again, we will be releasing our picks for the Farmers Insurance Open. That'll probably release on Wednesday on our social media channels, which, again, is on Twitter. It's Twitter or X. It's at CenterCupPod. And then on Instagram, it is at CenterCup_pod. So there's just a little dot in there is the only difference, but you can find us on both of those. We will be coming to you with clips on TikTok eventually, and we will make sure to disclose that on the podcast when we do. Keep an eye out for that. And yeah, I think like we said, we will continue to update the follow-through with more information as we get into the season. Keep an eye out for those clips. And then if there's any, suggestions, questions, or anything you might want to email us, especially about the Waste Management Phoenix Open coming up, please don't hesitate to reach out. We do have an email. It's centercup.pod@yahoo.com. I think that's all we got for today.
I think so, yeah.
Well, thank you guys for tuning in. We will see you again on Wednesday in just a couple days, and we'll talk a little Farmers Insurance Open. See ya.